The camera angle for this cutout was not great. This is actually the second story of this house. It's the deck on the second story of the house. I'm actually standing on the ground as I'm doing this cutout because the house is on a steep hill. So the only place I really had to set the camera was on the ground by the post. So not a great angle to shoot this from, but about the only choice that I had. I'll show you some of the combs that I pulled out. I won't show you it all. It was a 4-hour job, and it's basically just vacuuming bees and pulling out the combs and reframing them. So I cut out a lot of it, but I'll put in some of where you can see the combs that are cut out. Any honey, most of the honey that was in this, I give to the homeowner. I did frame one frame of honey to put in the hive. Since it's springtime, I didn't need all the honey that was in there. There wasn't a ton in it, but there was some, so I give it to the homeowner. It's springtime, so they'll replenish the honey pretty quick, and it gets to be a mess if you try to frame all that honey with honey dripping everywhere and getting all over you. It becomes a sticky mess whenever you do that. During the cutout, I never spotted the queen. I never seen her. The vacuum hose was actually full of bees, so it was stopped up actually, and the suction at the end of the cutout there was no suction in it, so the bees had totally clogged the vacuum hose. I had to Stop the end of the hose up and leave the hose attached to the vacuum because it was full of bees. I found out later in this video, as you'll see, exactly why the hose was stopped up. After we had all the bees out, we go back and scrape all the honeycomb off of the wood and everywhere else that we could clean up, and the homeowner has to stop up all the holes because basically the pheromone of the bees is still in that space. So if there's any way honeybees could get back into it, it's more likely going to attract another swarm of bees because they can smell from the scent that there has been a hive there before. So we scraped everything we could scrape off. The homeowner's going to go back in and fix the hole there, and then plug the crack. It was the crack between one of the band 2x10s on the outside and the post you see us working on. In one spot you can see the little bitty crack that was there, and that's all it took. If a bee could get through it, then they found them a good home. The cutout took about 4 to 4.5 hours to complete. I've now got them back home and going to put them in this box that I had laying around. It'll be a temporary one. It's not actually big enough for a full year's worth. You'll see I've rubber banded the comb into the frame so that it would stay in there, and the spots you see are actually capped bees, so they'll be hatching out here in a few days or a week or so. If you notice, the first two I put in, they're all pretty well the same size. You'll notice the third frame that I'm fixing to put in, it actually has, if you look, the cells look bigger than the other ones, and those cells that are bigger are actually drone bees, which will be a male bee. You can see on the right side of the top, they look bigger than the ones on the left side of that third frame. Those are the only male bees that would be in the colony. And in the wintertime, all the males get thrown out. So it's basically all females in there. The last frame that I put in actually has some honey in it and some pollen. The rest of the honey that came out of the hive I give to the homeowner. He was going to go ahead and he can take a cheesecloth and squeeze it out and get pure honey, or he can eat it in the comb, either one. He was happy to get the honey that came out of the hive. It really gets messy if you try to frame all that honey, and with it being springtime, they're going to go out and get a bunch more anyway, so they should be fine. I'm now going to open the box that I vacuumed them up into. This box is actually two pieces, so the vacuum's on the top and there's a screen, and then there's the bottom box. So I can take the vacuum off the top, and the bees are still in there under the screen. Basically then take the screen off, and I've dumped them onto this piece of plywood. The reason why I do it this way is because, as I had said earlier, I have not seen the queen whenever I was removing this. So now I've dumped them on this plywood, which is propped up to the entrance of the hive that I put the frames in. And what I'm trying to do now is, as these bees start to scatter out, I'm trying to see if I can find the queen and catch her and put her in it's called a queen cage. You'll see me have it in my hand. It's silver, and basically that queen cage has slots in it where the queen cannot escape, but normal bees can go in and out of the cage. So what I try to do here is find her, and normally on a cutout, I'll take and leave her in the cage for a couple of days inside the hive, just so that the bees can kind of get established and they don't just swarm off and leave. No guarantee that they won't leave, but leaving her in the cage inside the box for a couple of days does help with that. As you can see, I just dumped out the whole box on this and trying to now find the queen. Earlier I called this a queen cage. It's actually not a queen cage. It's called a queen clip. The cage is actually what you get with a package of bees. At this point I realized and noticed that all the bees congregate around the end of the vacuum hose. And that's when I finally figured out, okay, this thing's got a bunch more bees in it. I would not doubt what the queen is not actually in the vacuum hose. So a couple of shakes, and actually right now is when I see the queen. So taking the queen clip and scoop her up, actually scoop her up with like 3 or 4 more bees. You just don't want to crush her. If you crush a normal bee, it's bad, but if you crush the queen, you basically are hosed at that point. But I'll make sure I don't crush her and get her in the queen clip, and then I'll take and tie her up in the hive and leave her there for a couple of days. Alright, the queen was in the actual vacuum hose. And I noticed that all the bees were very attentive to the vacuum hose. So I shook it, and sure enough, the queen was in the vacuum hose. If you can see her good or not, she's trying to get out right there. But if you see her, she got 3 bees with her, which they can get out, but she can't. So this is good. Got the queen, so hive should be good. I'm going to leave her in this cage for probably 2 to 3 days, just to get them established here in this box. It's a good way to do it. So she tries to get out, but she's too big. She can't get out. That's her. I'll put her. I'm gonna go get me a string and tie her in the hive between 2 frames, and I'll release her in 2 to 3 days. All right, today's Wednesday. These guys were what I cut out on Monday. I'm going to release the queen today and put some more frames in, and let them get to working. So I'm going to show you here, if you can see down in between there. So that string is where the queen is. So they sure take care of her. See all of them over that cage that's down there. And what I'll try to do is get where I show you releasing the queen. These guys are already starting to build on comb that was put in there. There's the rest of them over there. You see those rubber bands are still on there, but in a few weeks after they get the comb attached, they'll start eating at that rubber bands, and the rubber bands will be laying either at the bottom of the hive, or they eventually will probably drag them outside the hive. If I see them in the bottom, I'll go ahead and get them and go ahead and put them out for them. If I can get the camera here where we can see this. They're not super aggressive, but I'm sure they're ready for the queen to be released so they can get back to work. them two stirred up here for you. I'm going to go ahead and cut string off the top here. And as you see, they're all over it because with the queen being in there. She's still in there. I don't know if you can see her. She's in the very bottom. She's actually facing this side. That's her with her head stuck out right there. They're feeding her. So hopefully I can catch this. Hopefully y'all can see it. I'm gonna come in on the side over here and see if you can see her walk out. There she is on, you see her right there on the edge. Well, she went the opposite way. I gotta wait for her to come out. Sure don't want to kill her. And there she comes. She's finally made it to the edge. See her big, there she is. Well, she turned around and went the other way. There she comes. She's gonna get out this time. There she goes. And she's out. There, you see her? Put her down on a comb. It's actually good she went on that side. Got all the bees out of that. It's actually good she went on the opposite side, because I'm going to put some frames in there and she's the opposite way, so hopefully that will work out. Here's some frames I had in another hive that actually got robbed out last year. I had these in the freezer. Took these out of the freezer the other day, Tuesday I guess it was. Let them thaw out and I'm going to put them in here. I'm going to show you, I just now noticed, look what's on the bottom of the hive. You may notice it while they go. Those are one of the rubber bands they already chewed into. So I'm going to get it. Go ahead and take it out for them. That was on the frame. Went ahead and chewed it in two already. Tell you, I was expecting these bees to be pretty aggressive, because to be honest with you, when I was taking them out of the house, they were real aggressive. But so far, the 2 days I've been down here, they have not been aggressive at all. Just like my other normal hives here. So hopefully they're not aggressive. So I put that empty frame in the middle there, trying to get them to draw it straight. I'm going to push all these back together. You can see there. No telling where the queen's at now. She's in there somewhere. They're over on that other comb now. I'm going to go ahead and put this guy back together.